What's shaking, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Shay, and today it's February 1st. It's the start of a new month, and you may notice my voice. I had a terrible time. In the last of January, I have taken ill, and so it's of course affected everything that I'm doing, but it's February the 1st. I don't want to decrease my reading momentum because I thought I had a really good January, and I wanted to vlog for you guys in February, so I feel like shit, but the show must go on. My reading will probably suffer just because I don't read as much when I'm ill. But I thought that this month, since I wanted to vlog, I wanted to kind of pull things out of my jars. Now, if you don't know what I pulled out of my jars, I'll leave the February TBR up here. But what I have done is I have put all of those books, plus I've chosen 4 sequels in here. I've removed the 2 new releases that are not out yet, but I thought that this would bring a little bit more of a surprise to what I'm going to read. I really had, I think, a successful month in January because I challenged myself when I read The Eye of the World, and I really ended up really loving it. And I feel like when I do the jars, and I love the jars, but I end up picking the safe bet most of the time. And so I never read the giant big books or the books I think, oh, I'm probably not going to read that. So I want to get rid of that. And so I have a jar of my jar picks. And so that is how we're going to start off the month of February. So here we go. I'm just going to pick. And I'm very nervous. Okay, here is the book. Here's the book that I'm going to read. All right, so this is 6 Crimson Cranes. So actually, I think that was quite a good pick. This is a YA fantasy. I'm not sure exactly what it's about. It has some really gorgeous covers. I'm going to go find this book and I'm going to start reading it, and I will post my thoughts of it in shortly. Okay, so it is now Saturday, which is the 3rd, and I have not updated at all because I was not feeling good at all. And you'll have to excuse me because my voice is still, of course, not 100% there. But I wanted to pop in and say that I did finish 6 Crimson Cranes. I also wanted to pop in and say kind of a little bit of how I obtained 6 Crimson Cranes and what I actually thought that I would read out of my backlist books. So 6 Crimson Cranes was one of my picks out of my backlist jars. And if I looked at all of the 4 that I picked out of that, I would have thought that I would have read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. Because number 1, it's like, I think the audiobook is only like 8 hours or something of that nature, so it's short. It's a romance. I tend to really power through those pretty quickly. And number 2, it's a romance. It's February, like maybe I should read a romance book. But I wound up with 6 Crimson Cranes, which I'm not upset about. So I could not find the audiobook anywhere. And right now, with how ill I am, there's no way that I can read a physical book. So it's not on Scribd, it's not on Hoopla. It was like an astronomical wait at the library, which is kind of crazy because I think this book came out in 2021. So just the fact of, I'm like a member of 5 libraries, and it was like weeks wait on all of them. So I had to use an Audible credit for it, and I'm not mad about it. This is a loose retelling of, I don't know, the 6 Cranes something. But this is following our main character, who is basically betrothed to be married. She does not want to marry this person. I think at the start of the book, she is very young. 16, 17, somewhere along those lines. And on their wedding day, she runs away. She finds a dragon. And then, with some circumstances, her and her brothers wind up getting cursed. And I don't want to say more than that because I feel like this book could be an entire whole spoiler if we go into a lot of different things, but I wound up giving this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I don't think the romance was very heavy-handed, which I really enjoyed. The book mainly focused on this curse and our main character trying to break this curse and trying to free her brothers, who her brothers have been turned into cranes, and she basically has this bucket on her head, and she is not able to talk or say anything to anybody. So it is definitely interesting. It was a very interesting story and retelling, and I don't know the original story that it's off of, but I enjoyed it. I thought the characters, like I said, the romance was not at the forefront of this novel, which was really a great part for me. Not that I don't like romance, I just don't like romance at the forefront, and this really didn't tackle romance at the forefront. There is this adorable little paper bird character that our main character brings to life because she has this illegal magic, and that character Kiki was super adorable. I just overall enjoyed where the story went, and I overall liked the characters, and I liked the like sibling bond between the sister and her brothers. So anyway, all that to say, I gave it 4 stars. Now I have to pick another book. Okay, my battery died. So potentially I could get another backlist book, and that's gonna make me closer to not reaching my goal of reading 1 book out of each jar. But that's okay. That is the challenge of doing the jars, and I'm gonna challenge myself, even though my reading is a little bit slowed down because, again, I'm sick. And so I'm gonna go ahead and pull out of here. There's not anything I would say that I really want right now, or I'm like, oh, I want this over this. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm disappointed when I pull something. So here it is. Do not know what this is. Am I slightly scared? Y'all, I jinxed myself. Did you see what I just did there? I said, oh yeah, I thought I would read All Your Perfects. And look what I picked out of All Your Perfects, which, by the way, is a second book out of my backlist jar. So, we are starting out the month, not in my favor, because we're reading 2 books out of the backlist jar. But that's okay, because All Your Perfects is a very, very short audiobook. I think I can knock this out probably today. And let's see just let's see if it's available in my library in audio form. Yes, so I actually have multiple libraries that have copies available in audio, and so that's what I'm going to do, and I'll pop back in. Maybe I'll pop back in at the 50% mark, something where along there. I think that this is going to go very fast. I'll be probably done today, and I will chat with you guys in a minute. Okay, so I finally felt relatively good enough, sorry about my hair, to get in the shower, but I did get to the 50% mark, All Your Perfects. So you either love Colleen Hoover or you hate Colleen Hoover. I know that I understand why people hate her. I understand why people love her. There are books of hers that I absolutely despise, and there are books that I love from her. She is a very readable author. She, compulsively readable. And I think that is a lot of times really easy for people to read. And she does tackle some hard-hitting topics. All Your Perfects is a book that tackles some very hard-hitting topics. I'm not going to say exactly what topics because I think that may be a spoiler, but definitely if you're triggered, check some trigger warnings. We are following our main character, Quinn and Graham. We are getting there now and then them in the past tense. We are learning how they got to fall in love in the past and how we are seeing their marriage fall apart here in the now. And I think that I'm not done with the book, so I don't know how it's going to end, but at this point, at the 50% mark, I respect the way that Colleen Hoover is weaving these hard topics into the story. In my romance, there are moments when I like rom-com, like nothing but a rom-com, but then there are moments in romance where I like harder hitting topics. I like a lesson. I like something going on in the story. And this is a story that I am enjoying the hard-hitting topics of this. Now, how she ends up doing this by the end of the story, I may change my mind. But here at the 50% mark, I am enjoying the journey, both in the past and how they're falling in love and in the present when their marriage is falling apart. We see Quinn deal with depression and grief and just how it affects her marriage. And I think that's very real world problems. And so I'm interested to see how the rest of the 50% plays out. It could sway me to think about the book differently. So we will have to see. I'll check in when I get finished. I have now finished All Your Perfects. It is still Saturday, and I'm going to wind up also giving this one 4 stars. I understand why people probably hate this book. There are certain things in here that normally I hate in romance books. However, this was so realistic, and I feel like the characters were real. I think when people read romance, they have it in their idea, they're reading it for this happily ever after. And they want everybody to be perfect, and they don't want people to make certain mistakes or things that they do. Marriage is hard, and this does not follow a couple that is getting together and finding happily ever after. This is following a marriage in trouble. I guess if you have never been in a marriage with marital problems, let's get real. No marriage is perfect, and every marriage has problems. And if you've never battled depression and how that can affect the way that you treat other people and the way that you interact with other people and just change your whole life in general, you may not have related to this book enough to like it. To me, I thought this was a super realistic take on marriage and how a marriage can fall apart. And anyway, check your trigger warnings. I gave it 4 stars. My voice is going. So I'm going to pick another one. If I haven't picked another backlist, I'm going to die. Okay, I do have some kind of caveats with picking out of the jar. Number 1, I have to have an audiobook. Right now I'm very, very sick. So reading just a physical book is just not, my brain cannot focus on that. So that's going to be most of my NTs out of the question. So let's go. Okay. Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. Did I want to read this book? Not really. Let's talk real quick about what I thought I would read for my new releases book. I thought that I may read The Invocations. So 4 new releases, I had The Invocations, Map of the Other Lands, Butcher of the Forest, and An Education Malice. I really wanted to read The Invocations, but if we're doing Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands, okay, that's fine. I'm going to have to use another Audible credit on this. I know, well actually it may be on Everend. I will check and see. Let's check right now. I know beyond know that my library does not have this because it's a new release. So yeah, all my libraries have like months of a wait. Let's see if it's on Everend. So it's also not on Everend. So I will have to use another Audible credit, which is fine. I have those. So, okay. Another Audible credit. Let's go. Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. It's Sunday, and yes, I'm looking terrible. I'm wearing the same thing, but please excuse the girl because I'm sick and just tired. So, I will tell you guys I did not check in while I was reading Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands because it's a sequel, and anything I would have said would have been a spoiler. So, I did not check in. I think I liked this one more than I liked the first one, so that's good news. And so I'm really excited about how my February has started off because I have read 3 books, and it's like the 4th. And not only that, but I have enjoyed everything I've read. And look, I've read now another sequel. So who am I? So, the same stipulations are going to apply to this jar. It has to have an audiobook. I just, in my head, I am still just, haven't slept very much. Haven't done, my brain just cannot wrap its head around what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick another pick. Here it is. And this is going to be, Tyranny of Faith. So, I could not be happier about this choice. I could not be happier about this choice. I have been wanting to read this. And now, it's time. So, super excited. And I will chat with y'all when I get into this. Okay. So it is now Tuesday, and it's been a rough couple of days for me. I actually think I'm getting worse and not better. My voice has come back a little bit, but my mucus situation has increased, and so I can't talk much without coughing and it getting stuck in my throat. Anyway, I'm not feeling the best, so my time with reading has not been the best, but I have started the Tyranny of Fate that I'm about 150 something pages in. My initial thoughts on this are the same kind of initial thoughts I had with the Justice of Kings. I am not like super into the story yet. At 156 pages in, it's moving a little slower than I would have liked. At the end of Justice of Kings, we had this big really climax that occurred, and I felt the first half of Justice of Kings was really slow as well. And it's moving kind of like the same in Tyranny of Faith. But as I said before, these characters are what kind of draw me into the story, so I'm still having a good time just being with these characters. Yeah, this whole thing is terrible. But I'm going to keep reading, and it may just take me a little longer to get through. But overall, I am enjoying my time. I think that what is happening is intriguing, and we have another mystery kind of plot in this one. We do still, I think we're going to get some more politics and some more maybe horror in this one. So I've heard nothing but great things about Tyranny of Faith. So I'm thinking at some point that it's going to get very, very good, and I'm ready for it. So I will check back in at some point, and here's to hoping that I feel somewhat a little better as the days go on. Okay, so it's now Friday, and I'm on like page 330 something. I know I haven't gotten to read as much as I wanted to this week, but I think I have some unpopular opinions on this book. I've heard nothing but fantastic people rave about this book. okay? And it's not a bad book. Coming off of the first book, I was so excited because I felt like we had found this found family, and we got to know these people and they loved each other, and we were going to really build on those relationships as well as the political aspects of the story, because we had kind of this murder mystery in the first book, and then it was going to lean more political in this book, which I typically love political fantasy. And not to say that we aren't getting some politics in here, we're also getting a mystery in here, but I felt like that when I started this book, these relationships were going to continue to blossom. They were already fantastic, and the characters were going to continue to blossom. But I feel like when we started this book, I feel like we're starting from zero. The characters are not as close as I would have felt that they would have been after the events of book 1, because I felt like they were really, really close, and then here we are again. Not to say that they aren't friends, but here we are again, not in this very close atmosphere that I wanted them to be as far as found family goes. I am just not as invested, because what made me invested in first was these characters, and I'm just not as invested in this, and I'm not as invested in the plot in this. I know that people love these books, but I, for one, am actually liking this one less than book 1. So I'm a little bit disappointed in it. I am going to finish it, and I will return with my final thoughts. Once I get done, hopefully I can get a good chunk done tonight and maybe finish tomorrow morning. Okay, I'm closing this vlog out. I have finished Tyranny of Fate, and I think that I have a very, very unpopular opinion on this. I'm going to give this one 3 stars. Again, I think I said it before, I just really didn't connect with the characters as well as I connected with them in the book 1. Yes, I loved the ending of this book. Very action-packed, loved the climax of the story, loved the kind of mysteries that were solved in here. But a good ending does not a good book make. And I have to enjoy the journey going there, and I felt disconnected to the characters in this one. There were some pretty terrible things that happened to our characters, and I felt nothing. I would have told you after book 1, there were scenes where I cried, tears, I was very sad, that I would have told you no. Like, I love these characters, they're my babies, and this book made me very, very disconnected from them, and so the horrors that happened in this book, no tears, no emotions, no whatever. So I gave it 3 stars. I do think I will read the last and final book, but I'm not quite positive when. I'm not in a hurry to get to it, but overall this was just an okay journey for me. So I'm very saddened to say that it's not my favorite. But with that, I'm going to close out this vlog. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening to my voice. I now have it back. I'm super excited, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.